I lied, it's taking another second. Sorry.
Okay.
Here we go. Hello, 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 everybody. So delighted you guys can join us this evening for our book release party with Lyla Lee. We're really excited to get that kicked off, so thank you all so much for joining us. I did want to mention, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Blute. I'm the events manager for Interabang Books, and I'm so excited to host this evening's event with Lyla Lee in conversation with Katie Zhao. Pardon me. So excited to have everybody here tonight. I did want to note before we kick into our main event that our store is open at 5600 West Lovers Lane in Dallas, Texas. You can come by. We are asking everybody that comes into the store to wear a mask over their nose and mouth, but we are delighted to have you guys in the store. As well, you can give us a call, 214-484-4289, or send us a pigeon, approach us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of the fun things, because we want to make sure that we're communicating with you, our customer base, and absolutely the community that we're a part of. We're delighted that we can support you guys by being the bookstore that you guys come to. So thank you so much for that. I'll say if you have any questions about getting this book, you can get it at the link in this event page, which should be below me, above me, around me. And so you can pre-order Katie's book, and then you can also order I'll Be the One, Lyla Lee, on that page if you haven't already. But I will say I am not the person you came here to see tonight, so I will be quiet now. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our incredible moderator this evening, Katie Zhao. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe, and I'm so excited to be here with Lyla Lee tonight to talk about her book, I'll Be the One, which came out today. Lyla Lee is the author of the Mindy Kim series, which is a chapter book series for young readers. That's like June B. Jones, but with a Korean American protagonist. But today we're here to talk about I'll Be the One, which is her debut young adult novel featuring a bisexual plus-size Korean American teenage girl who enters a K-pop idol competition, and there's lots of drama that ensues, but overall it's just such a funny and heartwarming contemporary that I know readers are going to adore. So I don't want to take the stage from Lyla, so I'll ask Lyla now to just introduce herself and talk a little bit about her background and career, and also tell us about I'll Be the One.
Hi, thanks for the intro, Katie. So Katie pretty much covered everything, but I'm Lyla Lee. I write middle grade books, Untitled Chapter books that are available now, and therefore 8 children on the ages of 6 to 9. And then also I have I'll Be the One, which is my young adult debut. And a little bit about me, I currently live in Carrollton, which is in Dallas, and I was born in Korea, and I moved around a lot throughout the United States, in California, Florida, and Texas. And people always ask me, like, why did you become a writer? And that was because as I was writing, you can't really take your friends with you when you move. but you can always take your books with you. And for me, it was a huge comfort for me growing up as a kid, to be able to go to a new town, to a new library, and see my favorite books in the shelves. That's a large part of the reason why I want to be a writer, and that's why I started writing books. And for specifically I'll Be the One, I wrote the book because as I was growing up, I mean, I guess both books actually, as I was growing up, most of the books that I read as like a kid or a teenager, the protagonists were white. And so I wanted to write books about like Asian American girls out there, in a way that I couldn't, because I couldn't see that representation, or I didn't see it as much as I wished I would have, when I was growing up.
I love that. And can I just say that I'm so happy that I'll Be the One exists, because I think a lot of Asian Americans go through like a K-pop phase, right? And mine was in like early high school, and back then, like, I don't think there were any like K-pop inspired books really. And there were like pretty few just Asian American protagonist books. But I know that if I were in high school and I saw this book, I would have snatched it up right away. So
Yeah, honestly, same.
a lot of people are going to be really happy about this book. So yeah, I think it'd be cool if we dive into more of like the background and research that you did for this book. So what kind of research did you do to write I'll Be the One? Like, did you have to look into the K-pop industry and how it's structured, like what the competitive atmosphere is like?
That's a very good question. And I think it's kind of weird because like for my research, part of it was like happened kind of organically during my life. And then part of it was things that I did like on purpose. Like for example, when I was in middle school, my uncle actually won like a Korean music competition, and he got a record deal. And then so I remember when I was in middle school, I had no idea what was going on. I was there in Korea to visit family, and then suddenly my mom was like, "We're going on a road trip to see your uncle like perform at this concert." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess." So we went, and then I remember it was a huge deal that he won, and that was in middle school. And also like during this time, I was also watching a lot of like K-pop competition shows growing up constantly, like K-pop Star and The Great Birth and all those different K-pop competition shows. So I grew up with that, and then a little later on, I also had a family friend who grew up in Orange County and actually like won a competition, and he's still like a K-pop star today. So like all those experiences kind of was my research, organically, of like Are We the One. And then for research that I did by myself, well when I was trying to get published, I was very like discouraged because Are We the One, it was my third book that I sent out to publishers, and I was getting discouraged. I was like, I need a new hobby. Like I need a new like way to kind of de-stress, and like a fun hobby that I could take my mind off of publishing. So I actually like and so my escape from publishing was K-pop, and which is funny because like that ended up being my debut novel. But anyway, so I would look up YouTube videos of K-pop celebrities. I mean K-pop videos. Like for example, I fell into like a BTS wormhole because they always upload. I think they're like one of the few K-pop groups that are very consistent and about like uploading their choreography videos. So I would follow along to BTS and or like Blackpink or other groups and artists, and that's how I like fell in love with K-pop. I mean, I actually did listen to K-pop like in middle school and while growing up, but I guess I didn't really pay attention to like the industry and like the dances until then. And then so all of that culminated into writing I'll Be the One. And like I was actually fortunate to like even like go to Korea last year when I was still writing the book to interview my friend in Seoul in the studio and ask him about like his competition and his experiences of being a K-pop star.
That's so amazing. Yeah, I felt like when I was reading I'll Be the One, I was like really impressed by the depth of detail, like just with the competition structure and everything. So like when I was younger, I was going through my K-pop phase, I also fell down like a rabbit hole just like watching all these like people who are auditioning for I don't know, just like different K-pop companies. And I feel like you really captured the really like cutthroat competitive atmosphere and wow, it's just, yeah. I'm really, really impressed by like how thorough the research was done. Like if you told me like you were a K-pop star, I'd believe it.
Secret side job.
That would be really
Writer
impressive.
by day, K-pop star by night.
You would literally never sleep.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to the next question. In Korean and Chinese cultures, there's this concept called saving face, which for the audience members who might not know is basically the desire to avoid humiliating oneself or your family. And it essentially requires keeping up like a perfect or near perfect image for society. And in I'll Be the One, Skye definitely comes to terms with the fact that she kind of has to push back against this concept of saving face in order to fully accept for herself for who she is. So how does she do this, and why do you think it's important for her to go against these norms?
So like, I mean, I guess like it's a lot, like every culture at some level has this, but in particular with Asian cultures and also like Korean culture, like you said, um, and in particular Korean culture, Koreans are Asian. But anyway, sorry. They anyway, so like I think in Asian society, like there's a focus on like the community, on like everyone else, like what would other people think, what would like this neighbor think, and like what would all these people we know think. And I think that's what's different about Asian culture as opposed to American culture, is that American culture is more individualist, and then like with Asian culture it's more like collective. It's like it's like very like focused on like what looks good or what looks bad. So, and I think that's definitely one of the things that I grappled with when I was growing up, because when I was growing up, my mom would be like, "Oh, like don't wear that. That looks like bad." Or what would so and so think if you wore that? What would so and so think if you did that? So I think for like and as I was growing up, for me, like it was kind of weird because I grew up in like as an Asian American, because and then in American culture is so different in that they're like, oh, be yourself, be an individual. You can wear weird colors, you can wear weird clothes. It's fashion, right? And then so I think that conflict of myself growing up in Asia as Asian American definitely influenced me in like developing Skye's character, because Skye is Asian American also. She's Korean American, and in the book, like she kind of gets judged by a lot of people a lot. Like her mom, the judges, the audience members are always like questioning like her choices, her like, and it's like a live TV show, so people are always like oh, she doesn't look like good on stage, or why is she a dancer? So but for her, I think the power in her in that is that she kind of stands up for herself, and she's always like, well, like you may judge me for what I look like, but I'm still here. I'm gonna win, and that kind of confidence is something that I really needed as a good, I guess, role model when I was a kid, and which is why I wanted to have a good, confident protagonist in this book, so like other teens and kids who go through similar things would like not feel alone.
Yeah, I felt so seen in this book, and I really wish that I'd had this book growing up. 'Cause I feel like Skye is kind of like the really cool older sister who I never had, or who a lot of Asian Americans never had, just because, you know, we do kind of grow up in this, as you said, like a weird cultural divide where we're sort of in the middle. Like we were raised with Asian values, which are, as you said, like very collectivist, but then when we go to school and like hang out with our American friends, they're all very individualist. So it's like this like really weird balancing act almost, where you're not quite sure how you're supposed to behave. But I mean, in the end, we can only be true to ourselves, and that's something that I'm really happy to see Skye achieve. All right, so moving on to the next question. What is the significance of seeing a Korean plus size bi protagonist who's living her best life in young adult literature?
I will just flat out say that if you asked teen me if I thought that I would see like an Asian bisexual girl on the cover, I'd be like, what, really? Like, I wouldn't believe it. And I think especially because when I was a teenager, YA was so different, and that like I grew up reading books about like white girls in like princess gowns, and like, or like dystopian like books about like white girls and then white boys. And so I think it's like the significance is that like I did what I thought wouldn't be possible. And so I think that kind of shows you how much the industry has changed. I mean, of course, like we still have a long way to go, and in terms of representation in like YA literature and like children's literature in general. But I think this is like a step in the right direction, and I hope that my book can encourage other queer or people of color writers to like think that their stories also have value and can also be published.
Yeah, no, that's all really wonderful. And yeah, props to you for sort of leading the way and carving that path for other queer Asian authors who want to put their stories out there. And I also have to add that I adore this cover so much because it's the perfect representation of Skye and just everything that she embodies. And it's just so happy and it makes me happy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got really lucky with the cover.
Speaking of happy things, let's talk about Henry. So Henry is sort of a like cinnamon roll character, as we like to say in the young adult space, in the sense that he's a little, like softer, more emotional. So why do you think that it's important to portray male characters who are allowed to be softer and more emotional?
So Henry is a very interesting character in that like he's a culmination of myself, because a lot of the things that people always ask me like, are you more Skye and are you more Henry? And my answer is actually Henry, because Skye is very confident, she's very extroverted, she's very like, like, I mean, she's awesome, but she's very extroverted. But Henry is very more introverted. I mean, he's famous, but in a weird way, even though he's in the spotlight, he doesn't really like it as much as Skye does. And he also like can perform, but internally he's like dying basically. But that's kind of like me. Like I'm kind of the same way, that I can perform, I can like speak in front of crowds, I can like do events like this, but internally I'm dying. But so Henry's a little bit of me. And like conversations that I had with like my past boyfriends or like past male friends about like the toxicity that exists in like male like I wouldn't say culture, but male like I wouldn't so basically like male toxicity, or like people think that guys don't have feelings, or people don't think that guys shouldn't that the guys should be tough, and people think that guys like shouldn't be soft. And so all of that kind of, and also like and also like when I was growing up, I actually grew up reading books about like guys, like the classic like rugged like dystopian like like Gale, I think his name was in Hunger Games, like the classic like angsty like YA male protagonist. So I think with Henry, I kind of wanted to subvert that, and that actually Skye actually has the more masculine traits. And then, while Henry can be seen as more feminine, because guys can have emotions, guys can be feminine, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah. So actually, I was recently reading like a book, I think that was published in the early 2010s. And in the back of my head, I was like, so I was reading the book, and one of the love interests is basically like the character you described, like Gale. He's like super like broody and the bad boy, right? And he's honestly really toxic for the main character. And I thought back to I'll Be the One, and I was like, wow, like these characters are so different, and like I so prefer Henry. And I think like for both like young male and young female readers, it's really important to see male characters who aren't toxic, because like just I know like a lot of people like having their guilty pleasures, and it's fine if it's like just a guilty pleasure, but I think it's a bit of a problem when you raise young readers who have expectations that guys are supposed to be like.
Oh, I forgot Edward Cullen. How can I forget Edward?
Yeah, Edward Cullen. Yeah.
Sorry. The prime example of the angsty, broody male figure.
Yeah.
Stalker.
Yeah. Like I won't say like don't have your guilty pleasure reads. Like we all have them, but I think it's really important to promote healthy relationships. And at no point while I was reading this book did I think, oh, like they're not good together. Like I don't like their dynamic. He's so bad for her. I saw their dynamic as like really like supportive, and I saw how they balance each other out super well. So I will ship them till the end of time.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So now we're going to talk about a less happy relationship, and that is with Skye and her mother. So in the book, Skye has this tumultuous relationship with her mother, whose emotionally abusive behavior is honestly kind of similar to that of a lot of like strict Asian mothers, which is something that I really felt deeply in my core. So what do you think is the importance of portraying these types of parent-child relationships in literature?
Well, I think definitely it's a cultural thing where I see it a lot more in my own mother or like my like friends' mothers, where it's like an Asian, like, and it's not like that they're bad people. It's that it's just the cultural differences and also the cultural expectations, and also like the different backgrounds of these mothers. And I think for Skye and her mom, the dynamic, for me, I want to portray that because that was more of the mother-daughter dynamic I was familiar with. And I think when I was reading YA, like I still remember like thinking like they're the kids' parents let them like stay out late, like they let them like do whatever they want. They actually like have a life. And so I remember like not really not having that resonate with me, because I was like, that's not the parents I know. And I also didn't want to like I will admit that like when I was writing books as a kid, like all my characters were orphans. So like, I mean, not because like I wanted to kill people off, but because like I just didn't want to deal with parents, because I just didn't want to deal with that dynamic and like develop it. I was too lazy to like write about it. So but with I'll Be the One, I actually focused a lot on the dynamic between Skye and her mom, Skye and her dad, because I think for teenagers especially, like why when you're reading YA and then when you're a teenager, like adolescence is the time period where you start to realize your parents aren't like these perfect people. And like you see, I mean, in general, you see the world as more gray and less black and white. So I think definitely, and I was growing up, I definitely saw my parents as people, and like, and I recognized that they weren't perfect, and they weren't like bad, really bad either. So I kind of wanted to explore that dynamic with Skye's mom and dad, because her relationship with and like I think I've actually seen a few early reviews of like they were like, oh, I don't get Skye's relationship with her dad. I don't get her relationship with her dad, with her mom. And I think I actually made it like more complex and open-ended on purpose, because I think that's kind of like how parent-child relationships are in real life.
Yeah, I think that was something that struck me, and that's why I wanted to ask this question, because as I was reading, I felt like I could see like parts of like the way my parents treated me growing up reflected in Skye's experiences. And like when you're younger, right, if all you see on TV is just like, you know, white kids with their perfect white parents, you're gonna think like, oh my gosh, my parents are evil. You know, like I probably had that thought at some point when I was younger, but now that I'm older, and like thankfully because of books like yours, I'm able to sort of like grapple with seeing relationships that are a lot more similar to the ones that I had with my parents, and to sort of like come to terms with recognizing the problematic elements of it, but also not saying like, oh, you're totally evil, like I don't want to talk to you again.
Right.
So yeah, I think you did an amazing job exploring that complex relationship, and I honestly feel like a lot of Asian readers are going to resonate very deeply. Right, so let's move on and talk about social media. So social media plays like a huge role in all of our lives. So of course, in I'll Be the One, it would play like a huge role in a K-pop competition. And I noticed that it was mostly Twitter and Instagram that play this big role in the story, whether it's people on social media tearing Skye down or building her back up. And as somebody who's definitely an avid user of both Twitter and Instagram, which I think are pretty much like the only accounts I use now, it was interesting to me to see how you use social media as a tool in I'll Be the One. So how would Skye's journey look different or maybe be impossible if not for the incorporation of social media?
That's a good question. Well, I think what it goes down to is I'm thinking of like the social media really took off like when we were growing up. But around the time when I was in middle school, and I guess you were in, I'm not gonna go there. Anyway, so I was like I tried to figure out like our age difference, but I was like I guess around middle school. So they didn't have that much technology. So I remember like for K-pop competitions, it would be, or even American Idol used to be dial in, or like text a number, and that's how you'd like catch your vote, or that's how like people found out about like it was all through texting or calling. So this competition still work? Yes, but would it be less immediate? Yes, because I feel like now, especially for like live shows, like we're so connected that even like now when people like when TV shows are airing, you see celebrities like on Twitter like being like, hope you enjoy this episode, and then like you see like all those like trolls like either like attacking them or like or the fans being like, oh my god, you look so good in that episode. So I think it's definitely like a unique time period we're in where everyone's so connected all the time. And I would just like to say that like I don't know, this is I'm like straying from your question, but I think for the reason why I made everyone so connected in this book is that part of it is also it's my own experience in that like I'm an avid social media user like you. Another part is that I actually teach teenagers when I'm when I'm not writing, and so they're always on their phone. They're always on Snapchat, on Twitter, Instagram. I always have to be like, put your phone away. So I know like how I had to be that mean person, even though I'm like also addicted to social media. I had to be that bad cop basically. But yeah, so I didn't think it'd be realistic to have a book that's about a reality TV show that didn't incorporate social media that much. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question. So we'll stray a little bit about talking specifically about this book, but I guess I'd just like to ask you, what so far has been the best part of your young adult debut process?
I think everything has been like a dream come true, but like in the sense that I didn't think that it would happen. Like for example, like when I was writing I'll Be the One, I just wanted like one book published. I was like, I mean, I'd already had the Minnie Kim books, and I'm not like trying to like throw shade at my Minnie Kim books. I love them too, but I love you too, Minnie. But anyway, but like I started writing books when I was a teenager, and I started writing books like YA books. That was what I first started writing, seriously. And so like YA is the genre, is the age group that books that I kind of like threw my blood, sweat, and tears in. So for me, at the point that I was at with I'll Be the One, I just wanted one book deal, one YA book deal. That's all I wanted. So to have that, not only that, but like another YA book coming out in 2022. And also like a movie deal for I'll Be the One. That's all been like a big like roller coaster. So I don't know, like it's just been a wild ride, and I'm so grateful that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think we met back when, actually, I don't think I had an agent yet, but I think you were agented. Oh, we have the same agent, by the way, if in case anyone who's listening doesn't know, which is probably most people. But yeah, when we met, like, I don't think you hadn't sold a book yet, right? But then like pretty soon after that, it was like book after book after book. And I was like, Dang, Lila's on fire. I'm so happy for you. So this is a slight tangent, but is there anything you can tell us about book 2?
So book 2 is set in Korea, and it's a companion novel. It's not a direct sequel. I'm sorry, fans who want sequels. There might be a sequel at some point in the future, but not right now. So it's a companion novel set in Korea, and it's about, well, I'll be the one. It's about K-pop, and that book is about K-dramas, because, and the reason why I chose to write a book about K-pop and K-dramas is that those were the two main loves I had as a teenager besides reading. So it's kind of my homage. If I were the one is my homage to K-pop, that book comes out in 2022. That's the book that's like my homage to K-dramas in that industry. And I can't really reveal too much about it yet, but one other thing that I will talk about is the fact that it also has a bi protagonist, but in that book she's dating a girl.
Oh, that'll be so cool. I'm really, really excited. All right. So we're gonna get a little more personal here. Who are your favorite K-pop idols and groups?
I think my favorite group is definitely BTS, because they're the reason why I started writing this book, because I remember like when I was growing up, I did have like favorites like DBSK, Shiny, EXO, but I kind of fell off the wagon after like those groups. Like, I mean, I just lost interest because I was like in college and like not really paying attention to K-pop. But then like I remember when I was in college and beyond, I saw BTS's slow rise to fame, and I was so inspired by them. And also like I said before, I would always like watch their K-pop dance videos, and that's how I got into like K-pop again. So definitely them. And then and in terms of like a artist, I really like Sunmi. Sunmi is like one of my favorite like female artists, because she's very like, she's not your typical K-pop female artist, in that she's very like I guess in your face in her style, in her music beats, in her lyrics, and she's very vibrant. She always wears bright clothes. Her music videos are so bright and like vivid colors, and that kind of confidence is what actually inspired me to also write I'll Be the One. And then thirdly, I also really like Chungha, who's also like a very like strong girl like singer, and she's also very like, I think she's like younger than me, but she's still very like talented, and she's like amazing. I guess I'll talk about them all day.
Yeah.
Girl.
Like K-pop stars are so impressive. I mean, I know they go under like intense training from when they're like really young, and even when they debut, they're like super young. They're all like younger than me at this point now, I think.
Yeah, we'll be considered veterans. That's how old we are.
We're so old.
They'd be asking us to retire. They'd be like, why don't you retire? I mean, I don't know about you, but me definitely. They'd be like, you're almost 30, retire. Like, why are you still active?
Yeah, no, but it's been amazing to see how it's like K-pop has really become a global phenomenon now. Like when I was into K-pop, so I was into like Shiny, Super Junior, Big Bang. Like this is going like way back. I think Ailey was like my favorite female artist. So like I sort of dropped off the bandwagon like you did in college, but lately I've been seeing a lot more like K-pop stuff on my feed, and I respect all that they've done for the world lately.
Yeah.
So I'm like taking notes and thinking about heading back into that world. All right. I also have a bit of a fun question for you. So if you were in a K-pop group, what would your role be?
So I thought a very long time about this, because I did take the personality quiz. Like basically my publisher, their social media site has like a quiz that kind of lets you find out which you are, and I got a leader, and I was like, am I really a leader? But I think that's actually a good fit for me, because I'm always the one that kind of can see the good parts of people and kind of like their strengths and encourage them. And so I'm always and also like in school, I was always the one that like in group projects, I was like always the one being like, okay, so you do that, you do this, you do that. And then I'm like, and I'm also very like hardworking and like ambitious. And I think that those are all traits that like a K-pop group leader needs. But yeah, I think like in general, but I don't know. I feel like it might be also be fun to be like the vocalist, the really talented vocalist. Like everyone wants to be. I mean, everyone low key always wants to be the really like talented vocalist. Like everyone who says that they don't want to be the talent is lying because they're but I mean, I don't know. I know like logic realistically, I know I'm not that talented at singing. So just leader. I can manage people.
So I thought for some reason I thought the leader would be like the lead vocalist. But do they not like have a specific role in the group? Like
I think it depends on the group. So I think some of them are vocalists, but some are rappers. Like for BTS, the leader is like more like a rapper. But they're like they're usually the oldest, not always, and they're the ones that kind of like for example in BTS, RM is the leader, and he's always the one that's like speaking for them. Or because he's the only one that's fluent in English also. But so he's the one that's like a spokesperson for the group and like sets the awards for them and things like that.
So they're kind of like the team captain, I guess you could
say. Yeah, basically.
Okay. Cool.
What would you be?
Oh man, I don't think I know enough roles. Definitely not the leader, just because like I don't know. I don't really like I would say I do like to lead, but I'm more of like a person who leads by example. Like I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't like necessarily being the one to like accept the award or, you know, give the speech for everybody, because I just feel like that's a lot of responsibility. And I'd rather like still be doing the right thing, but just like, you know, setting the example for the group. What are the
other roles? Lead singer, rapper, dancer. Yeah, I can't rap to save my life. Nope.
Maybe I'd just be like the lead singer. We'll go with that.
I can see that because you're a good singer. So
thank you. All right, so I think we should probably ask like a craft related question. So are you a plotter or a pantser?
I am a confusing mix of both. I'm a plotzer. In that I do plot, but by the time I finish the book's gone like way like out of the plan that I like set out for myself, because and also like I really hate drafting in general, and like I do try to be responsible and do try to follow the outline, and I do, I guess, follow it in like a general way, but it's mostly pantsing. And in the end, like I had this weird chaotic process where I write a zero draft, and then I go in and like I weave things back in as I write, and I have a first draft, and then after I'm done with weaving things in, I go back and like and read the whole thing over again, and then revise and put it and have a second draft. Because it's this weird process of like half plotting, half pantsing, and then half revising, half drafting. So
yeah, that's exactly how I write. Like I'm amazed by people who can actually have outlines. I cannot.
Yeah, but I still do have outlines. I do have outlines. I just like don't follow them, or I just try to follow them, but it doesn't work out as well as I thought it would.
Books they take on a life of their own, and the characters just disrespect us all the time.
Different mind of their own.
Exactly. All right, that's all my questions. So should we move on to the Q&A then?
Excellent. I am here for the Q&A. Folks, if you've got your questions, drop them down below in the comments on this Facebook Live event. We'll relay them to our authors and get you answers. This is actually the great kind of thing about a virtual event, is that if you've got questions, immediately you can get them to the authors. I know. I really love it. Really excited about that. Speaking of which, I really wanted to know, Lyla, sort of, was it difficult to change? To preface this question, I've been writing a lot recently, and I've realized that changing voices is a really difficult thing for me. Did you find that it was difficult to change the voice from Mindy Kim to I'll Be the One, or did that go really smoothly for you?
So I think I'm like a weird case, special case, in that like I'm lucky enough to work with kids. So for me, it's a matter of switching mindsets in between, like, I mean, switching the frame of mind between the kids I know. For example, for the Mindy Kim series, I think about the second, third grades I know, and like what they would say, what they'd be into. And then if I'm writing YA though, I think about my high schoolers and like think about what they're into and what they're interested in and like how they talk and how they like socialize. So I'll like I'm kind of lucky. I guess that's kind of cheating because I just like go back and forth in that sense. But in general, as a tip, I would say if you're struggling to do that, go somewhere. I mean, not now because quarantine, but like when it's safe, go out there and like kind of listen in to a lot of kids or like a lot of teenagers and like, kind of like see how they talk and how that's different, and that kind of helps me like switch things.
I love that. That's fascinating. I wouldn't have even thought of that. That must be of great use to you. I won't lie. This book is very personal and it's very, very well written, but were you ever worried about how open it was, about how vulnerable it showed you to be? Did any of that ever intimidate you? Because it's an incredible book. I just wanted sort of your look at that.
Yeah. So basically this book is definitely my most personal one. And like you said, there's like a lot of like elements that's like scary to put out there. But I also wanted to be that authentic and because for me, writing this book is kind of like a culmination of my like 2 decades of learning to love myself and accept myself for who I am. So I thought that I couldn't get that message across as much as I wanted if I didn't have those details. So it was something that I kind of realized that it's like a necessary thing I can do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Our friend Ryan, who's been in the comment section and is asking, what if Mindy Kim, Skye, and Farron met each other? What would they think of each other and would they hang out?
Oh, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. So I'm gonna let Katie answer after me, but basically the Easter egg I put in I'll Be the One is actually Minnie makes an appearance in I'll Be the One. As one of the contestants. She's actually one of the competitors that Skye meets in I'll Be the One. And then she's like the prodigy that like, sings really well, and then Skye's like, oh my god, why is she so talented? She's so small. But in the sense that I feel like they would get along, and because they're both very like independent, but also like they might not because they're also very hard-headed. I don't know. How about you? How do you think your Farron would get along with my characters, or they would all fight? Would it be a bloodbath?
Thank you, Ryan. This is awesome. Oh yeah, I have my book here. I forgot to show it, but this is my book, The Dragon Warrior. It's middle grade, and Farron is the main character. But I think in terms of age, Farron and Mindy are definitely closer, but Farron would be her older sister. I honestly feel like she and Mindy would get along. Like, they're both pretty like strong-headed, I guess you would say, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if Farron were younger, like she would probably be like similar to Mindy. So I'm just having a hard time imagining their worlds colliding. So I'm like, contemporary and then
Chinese demons keep our competition show. I think Skye could be like the good older sister figure that they need, or they want, I guess.
I don't want to think that they would fight. Get along, but also they're all like so strong-headed and independent that
right.
I feel like inevitably they would clash at some point. So their fights would probably be really epic. But but outside of that, they would probably be friends.
Yeah, I agree.
They would either love each other or hate each other, basically.
Indeed, indeed. Our friend Aniqua asks, what are Skye and Henry's astrological signs?
Ooh. Of course you'd ask me like an astrology question. I'm a very good, big like astrology person. Anyway, so Skye is a Capricorn because she's a hard worker. And she's very like, I wouldn't say she's not emotional, but she's more detached from emotions, and she's very hardworking and ambitious. And meanwhile, Henry is a Pisces. He's like very like emotional and like watery, and like he cries a lot. He has a lot of feelings.
Love our role.
All the cinnamon roll. Sheila wants to know, what is your favorite author who writes Asian American representation?
That's a hard question because I pretty much love a lot of people. I would say right off the top of my head, I really love books by Maureen Gu. Um, and then Debbie Michiko Florence, who writes middle grade. Who else? Oh, sorry. Jenny Han, and like there's so many awesome like, oh, Mary H.K. Choi. So I just love all those authors, and I think for me, I'm privileged to like have read those books in the past, and so I always, I think this came up in another event, that I always like feel lucky and privileged that I have all these role models to look up to. So in that, like when I was publishing this book, like I kind of felt like I was joining some like exclusive club, like of really cool people.
I love that. Our friend David wants to know, would Lyla consider writing a comic in the future or collaborating on one? It seems like her stories would translate well with the medium. What do you say, Lyla?
Definitely. Like I would definitely not be doing the drawing because I love drawing, but I'm not good. But I would say that definitely like I write very visually, and that's my film background. And yeah, so I would definitely in some point in the future be down to like work on my comic.
Our friend Alyssa wants to know, well, first off, she says, you've conquered chapter books in YA. Congratulations, huge accomplishment. Do you want to write middle grade or adult someday, or even picture books?
Yeah, I am definitely like, I have ideas for adult books. I do have idea for more middle grade and more YA. Picture books, definitely yeah, but I will say I do definitely respect picture book writers out there because they do so much in so little words,
Yeah.
and it's so amazing how they like I remember like when I was a kid, I'd be really touched when I read picture books. I'm like, wow, that's like such a good book, and it's so hard to like to simultaneously not only grab a little kid's interest but also like give them a good message. So I think that would definitely be the hardest one for me, but I would definitely like try it someday.
I love that. Rosalinda wants to know, what do you think of Crazy Rich Asians?
Crazy Rich Asians was definitely like a really like, I think it was like a very like historical point of cinema. Like going back to my film background, like when I was in film school, like we would watch the movies from like all the way to 1920s to like contemporary films, and then like in those films, sorry, as I was studying those films, I would have never thought that a movie like Crazy Rich Asians would be possible. So for that movie, I remember I watched that like 3 times with 3 different groups of friends because we were all like amazed that this movie existed. So and yeah, so it's very. I mean, it's not like, I would say it's not the most accurate portrayal of like Asians, because like definitely is like a very specific type of Asians, like a very rich group of people. But despite its flaws, I think it's a very like important piece of film.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our friend Francesca wants to know, if Skye had a chance to perform with one famous K-pop star, who would it be?
That's a very good question. I don't know. Skye, I mean, honestly, in the book, Skye says she likes RM, so probably RM from BTS, because she can't rap, but RM can rap, so it could work out.
Okay, great collaboration.
Yeah.
And finally, for our last question of the evening, our friend Christine wants to know, what was your favorite book as a teenager?
As a teenager, I just have so many books that I like love as a teenager. I can't really choose one. Yeah, so I can't really choose one. I do. I,
Real.
I don't want to be like, because I don't want to like say one book and be like, I feel bad for the rest of the day. I should have said this person. Like, why did I mention this person? Like, I don't want to go into that. I just want to say, like, I'm so grateful for all the authors I read as a teenager, because y'all, like, your books, like, influenced me and made me feel less alone. And I'm so lucky to have read your books while growing up.
And now you're doing that for other readers.
Yay!
I love it. I love it. Well, folks, you can order I'll Be the One here on interabangbooks.com or in the link at the top. We've got the link is going to be posted in the comment section again as well, so you can order that. Also, remember Katie Zhao's book, you can pre-order that. It comes out January 2021, but it's never too early to pre-order, you know. We're always eager to help out authors and sort of boost sales for that first week. That's very, very important, so we're happy to do that as well. Finally, last thoughts? Katie, Lyla, anything you'd like to say? Just sort of finishing off your book release party.
I think we covered all the bases, but I had so much fun talking with you, Lyla, and the questions from the audience were lovely. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh wait, what do you still want to say?
Well, all I was saying was just like thanks everyone for a great evening. So you can you can talk now.
Yeah. So I was just gonna thank you, Katie, for being such a good host, a good moderator. I mean, and for Interabang Books for hosting this chat. Like, I actually didn't know if I was gonna still have a launch. Like, when the whole COVID-19 situation happened, like before that, I had all these plans, but they kind of like fell apart. My events got canceled. So I'm so grateful that this is still a thing. I'm so grateful for people back home who are like tuning in to watch this. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Lyla, Katie, thank you both so much for joining us this evening. Folks, thank you all so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful time. Like I said, pre-order and have a lovely and safe evening. Thank you so much. Okay, we are off live.